Hello everyone, my name is Juan Camilo. I'm a student of CQU University of Melbourne. This video is to explain the Assessment 3 of Cloud Computing for Smart Applications unit. First of all, I choose the business case 1, the case study 1, which detect excessive shock using phones sensor data. In this case study, I'm assigned to develop and extend modules to detect excessive shock using accelerometer and orientation data collected from the phone's sensors. For this case study, I have to identify and display shocks using phone's sensor data and display a message in a debug if there is a shock event. Secondly, I have to post a Twitter alert using Twitter account when the shock is detected. After that, I have to display shocks over time using line graphs and charts. Store excessive shocks events in IBM Cloud database using Node-RED float and identify the orientation of the phone. First of all, to explain my solution for this assessment, I have to log in my IBM Cloud account. This is my username, and that's my password. As you can see, this is my account. This is my information of my profile. And I'm gonna click in the dashboard to get the information about the different components that I already done. In this case, for this case study, for this assessment, I created 4 components. The first one is the IoT platform. Second one is a Node-RED Cloud and new NoSQL database. The third one is the application provided for unit to get access to the different sensors of the phone, accelerometer and orientation and collect the accelerometer and orientation data. And finally, this is the Node-RED application to develop the solution. The IoT platform. In the IoT platform, we can see the different devices that I already created. In the dashboard, I create this device, which is going to connect to the smart application provided for the unit to get access to the different data from the sensors. This is one device, and the device ID is phone. Device type is simulator. On the other hand, there is another component such as the database. In this database, I'm going to store the information about excessive shocks. I'm going to launch . This is the dashboard of my databases. In this case, I created this database called JCPRIESC database, and this database is where I'm going to store all the information about shock events. The other component is the smart application provided for the unit is this one. And if we click in the URL, we get access to the application, the smart application, which detect the different sensors of the phone. Finally, the last component is the Node-RED application, which is the application where I'm going to develop the solution for this assessment. So we have to click in the URL and go to the solution. And this is my solution. So I'm going to explain the different components that compose this solution. The first component is IBM IoT node, where is linked with the application that is provided for the unit, that is this one. So what I have to do is link this node with that application, use it in authentication Bluemix service. In this field, I have to text the information about my device. This information I can obtain from the device that I already created in the IoT platform. As you can see, the device ID is phone, simulator. All this information I have to put in this place. After that, I click done and is already connected to this smart application. So for the first point, which is identify and display shocks using phone sensor data, display a message in a debug, this is a shock event. We used the smart application to get the data. This first function node is in charge to get the information of the last node, that is IBM IoT, and I get this data in this variable called sensor data. So I'm going to parse in a JSON to get all the data by separate. In this case, this code is to detect there is a shock event, evaluating the different variables in one range, as you can see. In my logic, I determine if there is a shock event if at least 4 of these variables are outside of this range. So if more than 4 of these variables are outside of the range, I determine there is an earthquake. If this not happen, there is not an earthquake. After that, for complete the first point, I have to create a debug component, debug node, which is in charge to show the debug or the log. For the second point, I have to post a Twitter alert using Twitter account. So in this case, I'm going to put one switch node which detect that there is an earthquake, so this is a shock event. And I'm going to create a function node where I'm going to concatenate the date of the message. This is because when I try to post in Twitter the same post, this component or this node is going to fail. So for avoid that, I'm going to concatenate to add to the message the date to be sure that the message is not going to duplicate. After that, I set this node, delay node, which is in charge to send the message in an interval or a rate. That is because if the tweet node detects a massive posting, it's gonna fail. In this case, this component is going to delay or is going to have a rate limit, which is going to send the message every minute, as you can see. The third point, okay, in this case, this point I have to store excessive shock events in IBM Cloud. For that, I'm going to create this component called Cloud and Out node, and I'm going to link this database with the service provided for my IoT platform. And additional to that, I'm going to put the name of the database that we already created. If you remember, I showed you this database called like that. So the idea is I have to copy this name and paste in this field to be sure that I'm going to connect to the new database. The projection is insert because I'm going to insert the data in there. For this third point, I need to display shocks over time using my chart and graph. So for that, I'm going to detect in a similar way this data and send to this component, to this node called chart node. So I have to create a group and tab and create a line chart type. I can choose the color and done. To see the information that is provided for this node, I have to click in there and go to the dashboard. To get access to the dashboard, I'm going to go there, here, and in this part, I'm going to click here, and I get access to the dashboard. This is the line chart that I already created. So this chart is going to show the movement of the variable. Finally, to detect the orientation of the device, I'm going to put one function node, which in the similar way I'm going to catch the sensor data, and to calculate if it's landscape orientation or portrait orientation, I already did this validations. So I'm going to evaluate these variables and determine if the orientation is landscape and portrait. So this is the code that I already did. So in this case, after read some articles about how works the orientation and these variables and the data that I get of these sensors, that is the result. So beta maybe must be in this range, X must be in this range, Y in this range, and Z in this range. In the same way for portrait orientation, but in different range, as you can see. After that, when I get the orientation, this one or this one, I'm going to pass the message for another debug node and show in the debug dashboard. Okay, so in this case, I'm already running my application in one device, and in this moment I have the device without moving, and if you can see, I can get the message that is not an earthquake, and in this case the position is portrait orientation. Yep. So if I start to shock the device, I'm going to get one message that there is an earthquake. No. And if I put the mobile phone in landscape, so I'm going to detect the orientation like landscape. And to validate that my Twitter node is working, I went to my Twitter account, and there is an earthquake. That is the message, as you can see, with the date, the current date, that is Friday, October 11, and this is the hour. The hour is different because it's another server, but it's right now. As you can see, I post this message 50 seconds before. And to verify that the data is in the database, I'm going to the database dashboard, and so we came to the dashboard of the database, and we can see that this is not an earthquake, and when I shock that, so this is the date. It's the same date that the post on Twitter. The post on Twitter. Yep, this one. Yep, and is in here.